So at this time, we're going to answer questions, and we have some already written out, and I will refer to those in just a few minutes. But first, before then, the one question is, does the IPLA license need to be in addiction? No. It's the IPLA license is for the CADAC 3 or CADAC 5 are designed for folks that do not have a IPLA addiction license, but have an IPLA behavioral health credential in mental health, social work, marriage, family, whatever it may be. The next question is, I got knocked off the seminar. I'm getting a warning sign from Google.
Tell them we're going to post this on YouTube for everyone to see. So listen.
Yeah, this will be posted on YouTube for everyone to see if you're not able to see at any point in time. The question is, does any of this apply to a person that has a LAC? If I will just speak for myself, my opinion, if you have an LAC, you would be eligible for a CADAC 2 or CADAC 3. We currently have some folks that have an LAC that continue to carry the CADAC 2 credential because the LAC does not have reciprocity in the sense that a CADAC 2 does. And the CADAC 3, if you've got an LAC, I wouldn't see a need to have it. Some people may want to have it. We know some folks, Icaada members, who like to have our credentials and want to have the highest credential from us they can get. If you wanted to get it, you could, but in terms of advantages, benefits, I'm not sure, other than knowing you got the highest credential that you could get, any other benefits. Is there an internship requirement for the certifications? For the 3 and the 5, the practicum experience required for your license meets the requirement for the 3 and 5. For the 2 and 4, Lynn, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, thanks, Stan. When I think in terms of internship, I would say no. The reason I'm saying no, as it being a requirement for the 2 and the 4, is that in actuality, one doesn't really need a degree in order to get the 2 and the 4. So when I'm thinking internship, I'm kind of equating it to an academic situation. Basically, again, for the 2 and the 4, what you're doing is, as long as you've got the supervised work experience and you've got the required number of hours, whether 2,000 or 4,000, you're fine.
So a practicum is not required then?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. We do use the term practicum, but it's strictly meaning it's okay to extract it from your day in, day out routine.
Can you apply for, another question is, can you apply for a CADAC 5 with an associate license in Cmhc? And I'm assuming that means an associate license for Lmhc, maybe? Not, because of Cmhc, that's the abbreviation for a community mental health center. So if you mean a Lmhc associate, yes. And then the last question, does the CADAC 5 have reciprocity through IC and RC? No, the CADAC 5 does not have reciprocity. It's an Indiana-only credential. Then we had some questions that were sent in prior to the webinar. One question is, what's the difference between the 4 and the 5? And the big difference is the 4 has reciprocity in other states, the 5 does not. Of course, the requirement for the 5 is that you already have an existing license from IPLA or recognized by the IPLA, and that would be a requirement as well. some people that have a 4 wonder should they get a 5, and you would need a IPLA recognized license, and such as the LCSW, LMHC, LMFT, and if you wanted, you could get the 5. I'm not sure what the advantage would be over the 4, but you could. Another question is, what is the turnaround period in the application acceptance, signing up for the exam, insurance, issuance of the credential? Lynn, you want to speak to that?
Sure, that's kind of a rough question, but it's a great question. The turnaround time, the goal is to be able to receive your information online, have you get registered for the exam, take the exam based upon the dates that are available, and then having the portfolio that you've submitted reviewed and approved. And once it's approved, your certificates are there immediately. Keeping in mind that this is a very new process for us, we are still training the certification reviewers, and so we are getting better and faster. But I do want to say what we want to do is when you get to CertiMe and you upload your documentation, fill out your application, etc., please give me a call when you've done that and after you've paid your testing fee. Right now, the CertiMe platform states that you will be contacted, and so what we do need for you to do, at least right now, is for you to give me a call. I will get you pre-registered, and then once you're pre-registered, the testing company will contact you via email with your user ID and password, and then you just get onto their site, and there'll be a few demographic questions, etc., and you will then be shown a calendar of dates available. So you just go ahead and register, nail down a time. So I think in order to expedite the process, you don't want to wait. You don't have to wait until your submissions are approved. It'll be fine to take the exam prior to. And once again, once you pass the exam, then you upload that score into your portfolio. And CertiMe will give us a list that will show that you have completed the exam and the majority of the steps, and our portfolio reviewers will then go through the portfolios of the individuals whose name are on the list. Feel free to call me. And so if you're concerned about where you are in the process, about the length of time it's taking, you have questions, by all means, please do give a call.
Okay, and the only thing I would add to that is generally the time frame we've had in the past is once you have completed all your paperwork, application requirements, and taken the exam, you will get your approval and certification within 60 days. Now, that was under the old written, where you turned in a hard copy, etc. Now that it's all electronic, I'm not sure if it may stay the same or not. We'll have to look at that and see how things go in the next few months. The next question here is, I recently renewed my CADAC 4. When will I receive ICNRC certificate?
Please give me a call, 923-8800, area code 317, again, 317-923-8800, and I will look into it, because yes, when you renew, whether it's on CertiMe, whatever it may be, there is a way to process your certificate so that you can actually print it out. So give me a call and I'll be glad to look into it for you.
Okay, the next question here is, will CEUs be offered for this webinar? No, there's not any CEUs for the webinar. This is about a half an hour webinar and relay, so we're not going to give CEUs. Sorry.
Yeah.
The next question is, I currently have a CADAC 4 and is due to be renewed. What is the advantage of getting a CADAC 5? I don't know any real advantage other than you have a 5 instead of a 4. Some people like to have the higher numbers, but other than that, I don't know of any benefit. The second part of that question is, do I have to gather up old documentation to prove each requirement is met, or can we build on what is already in the record? The requirement for the CADAC 5 says you have to have a license, and if you have the license and have a CADAC 4, you do not have to go through the resubmission process for all the documentation. That's correct, Lynn?
Wow. Yes, okay. It is helpful if when you are applying, and this is the great thing, we've got so many people coming through and upgrading to different kinds of credentials. And so if you could go ahead and do an application and submit things, keeping in mind that the reviewers are really pretty much going to be able to kind of look at their screen and review and won't necessarily be there in the office to pull your old paper portfolio. So it is helpful, Stan, if they can do stuff.
Okay. The next question, I have an LCSW and have practiced the field for over 10 years. Which certification would you qualify for, or would I qualify for? You would qualify probably for the CADAC 5, and your experience in education, because you've got the license, would meet all the requirements. The only additional part you would need to make sure that you have 90 hours of education training in addiction, and you would need to document that. But other than that, you would make sure you document that and document your license, and take the exam, pass the exam, you can be a CADAC 5.
Absolutely.
Next question is, I will not be able to attend the webinar at 10. Will it be available to view later in the evening? Yes, on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Okay, and how do you change the credential you want to apply for? Lynn, I think this is a question for you.
That's a question that comes up often. And unfortunately, what you want to do, let's suppose you go in and you just, you're going for a 2 and you set up that Insertamy, and then you decide, what, I think I want a 3. That 2's, the fact that you applied for the 2 is going to be there a while. So you just literally come back out, come back in. So it's okay. I'm looking at screens where someone may have 5 different credentials on their screens. It's ultimately what we want to do is to continue to work with Certamy as we develop this platform, so that if you make a mistake or you just change your mind, that you can have certain things deleted from your screen, or be able to delete those things directly yourself. So it's going to be there. The fact that you applied for something else or thought you might want something else, that's going to be there for a while. But these kind of questions are really, really helpful, because, again, I'm still working with the whole Certamy platform, and this has been one of the issues that we've talked about, that, there's several credentials on your screen that you may not want on there. So continue to give us feedback, please, on your Certamy experience.
Okay, and the last question we have here is, when you are currently what are some of the best ways to utilize the CADAC? What is, well, a CADAC is recognized by CADAC 2, CADAC 3, CADAC 4, and CADAC 5 are recognized by the Indiana Division of Mental Health and Addiction. They certify treatment programs around the state, and if you do not have a certification or a license in addiction, they're concerned about that. So this, an advantage for having the CADAC is it gives you an addiction credential. What is the average yearly income for a person with the CADAC? Well, that depends, and it depends on which CADAC you have. It depends on the agency you work with and the type of clientele and payment, third-party reimbursement that you may have. Unfortunately, not all addiction professionals receive the same pay. Some addiction professionals start out at a very low salary. It may be $30,000 something as a CADAC 2 or something like that. In some agents, especially in agencies that provide indigent treatment, agencies that provide treatment for folks, low-income folks, and also some criminal justice settings pay fairly low. Whereas if you're in a high-end for-pay, for-profit treatment center, you may get much higher salaries, up to 6 figures. So it really depends on what credential you have and what agency you work with. Then the last question, does having an additional LCSW or an LMHC make a difference? Yes, having a license does make a difference in terms of billing. Licenses tend to be the credentials that get reimbursed. So having a LCSW is an advantage because it enables billing in many cases. Then we have some more questions that have come in during the webinar, and I'm going to have to get up closer. I've got bifocals, and or Lynn, can you read better than I?
That's a loaded question. Let's see. What should you do if your supervisor retires? So I'm guessing that question is being asked because you are wanting to document your prior experience. I think if that's the case, number one, hopefully the agency itself, whether it's HR, whether it's someone that maybe was in a supervisory capacity when you were there before, is still there and can document that training. And that's one reason I always suggest that for individuals who are, say, volunteering or part-time, kind of keep track of that as you go along. But if your supervisor retires, again, I would start with HR. If that doesn't work, I mean, you can contact someone on the board, perhaps, and then at that point, we start going to former coworkers and that kind of thing, payroll records, pay stubs, any kind of performance review, something that would say, yes, I was there. Now, if this is for the sake of that intensified practicum that we talk about in terms of the core functions, if you did it and you can't document it, then unfortunately the only other option would be to privately contract with someone who is in a supervisory capacity, even at another agency, and they provide you supervision, 1 hour on a Saturday. We have to start getting creative, but normally we can pull together the documentation. We would work together so that you could still go forward with the certification process. Okay, next question. The Cmhc mentioned above is probably for certified clinical mental health counselors and is a certification granted from NBCC. Would it make sense for someone expected to get a CADC-5 to get a 4 in order to have reciprocity.
If you wanted reciprocity, yes, that would be if that's something important to you. The 2 or the 4 are your reciprocity credentials.
See, next question. I am planning to take the test for CADC-2. Where can I find test prep information? Great question. Couple of things. One is there's a website called readytotest.com. Again, readytotest.com, and they sell study guides. You can take a look at that. You can go to the ICNRC's website, and they have, there's a state or two that has developed a study guide that's available, and you can access that through the ICNRC's website, or it may be under internationalcredentialing.org. And that's going to be fine since that state is also a member of the consortium. It's the same exam. Another thing you may want to try is taking a look at SAMHSA.gov. That's the government's website on addictions. Take a look at their treatment protocols, particularly Tip 21. And I think another kind of way organically would just be to type in the different core functions. Google them and take, you're going to get, hundreds and hundreds of websites if you type in something like addiction counselor referral, and take a look at the different websites and kind of compare. That's how I would prepare.
Did you mention the ICNRC candidate guide?
Major oversight, yes. There's an ICNRC candidate guide that gives you the categories of the exam. And also they have a sample exam that you can take. I think it's like 10 or 15 questions. And they also have an actual practice exam. And the practice exam, again, gives you a good overview of what's on the test, and the cost is $49. Thanks, Dan. Next question. I am planning to take the test. We talked about what the study, what the prep information is, and then the second part of that is, are there any study groups? Unfortunately, I'm not aware of any structured study groups, so it would just be whatever individuals working together decided to do. But to my knowledge, there are no structured groups. Okay. That all our questions? Well, thanks everybody for joining us. And again, give us a call, 317-923-8800 for other questions.
And I do have a couple of things I want to add. One is if you're interested in getting your certification reimbursed, we need to complete your paperwork by April 19th. And again, I'll say that April 19th. The DMHA is offering this through April 30th, and we need to get your paperwork in by the 19th so that we can review it and see if you meet the qualifications so we can get you approved and so on. So you need to get busy if you're interested in getting reimbursed. In terms of training, if you do need some training for your credential, whichever credential you're interested in, Icaada does offer trainings as well, and we have an HIV training this Friday that has I think about 5 seats left in it if you need the HIV training, and then we have an ethics training available on April 26th, and you can go to our website and click on training, and you can see those trainings and sign up for them. The 2 trainings I mentioned are also at a discount rate courtesy of DMHA, the Division of Mental Health and Addiction, and those trainings only cost $10 a piece. So it's an opportunity to get some basically free training if you're interested.
I'm glad, Stan, you mentioned about the the reimbursement for the CADACs. Please, if you are wanting to be part of the potential reimbursement, give me a call if you would. I know it can be difficult with the, get through on the phone line sometimes, but call the 317-923-8800 number. Please give me a call. I'm reserving some dates for those of you who are out there who want to take the CADAC test this month. So again, please call me or call Stan, 317-923-8800.
Okay, and that is going to finish up our webinar. I would like to thank all of you for tuning in. We really hope we can get some of you certified under the DMHA reimbursement. If not, these credentials will continue, but you will have to pay the full price. The full price for these is $200 for the certification, $200 for the exam, and if you're not an Icaada member, $125 for Icaada membership. So if you needed all three, certification, exam, and membership, it would be $525 would be the cost. And again, if you get your paperwork and your exam done, you could get that reimbursed. If not, that would be your cost. The only other thing I would say is, again, this is Stan DeKemper, Executive Director of Icaada. With
Lynne Calaway, Certification Coordinator.
And we would encourage you to go to our website, www.icaada.org, and look at all the things, the trainings, the certifications, and so on we have on the website.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.